I didn't want to get into this because I'm such a huge fan of yours, but for the sake of journalism, I must. You've been getting called a cuck a lot more than usual lately because of your support for Gary Johnson. Now, I'm going to let you have the floor in a moment, but I'm just going to go over a few different issues before I give you the floor. So, here's a few concerns I have. So, number one, he's not against the Federal Reserve. Number two, he says he agrees with Bernie Sanders 73% of the time. Number three, he thinks businesses should be forced to produce for people they don't want to do business with. Yep. Number four, he thinks Planned Parenthood should be federally funded. Five, he's pro-United Nations. Six, he's pro-TPP. Seven, he thinks the free market bankrupted coal. 8, wants a CO2 fee to fight global warming, so basically a carbon tax. And, of course, 9, his VP has voted for some of the most extensive extreme gun control in the country. And 10, cutting it short, he buys into that Kony 2012 garbage. So with that said, I like the guy as a person, and I understand why people like him, but how on earth is he a libertarian? As Ron Paul said, you can't call yourself a libertarian when you say you are fiscally libertarian and socially liberal. That sounds more like an identity crisis. So shouldn't we be looking to ourselves to change the world instead of essentially sitting on our hands waiting for Gary Johnson to do it for us? You have the floor.
Well, obviously, I'm not waiting for Gary Johnson to do anything for me except represent the party and take advantage of this opportunity that the party has given him in 2016. I'm going on tour. I'm going to be in 64 cities in 63 days. You know, we're going to be giving out free copies of the book in every city. We're reaching people. We're challenging people to embrace the true message of freedom and libertarianism. And I've never said that Gary Johnson is a libertarian except in name only. And that might sound harsh, but that's the truth. And what you enumerate there of his positions perfectly demonstrates that he is at best a libertarian-leaning moderate, not a libertarian. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people in the party, and I've said this publicly, despite my desire to, show them that it's not about just ideology or purity. It's about moving the ball forward for freedom. I think a lot of them are not the kind like me who go out and actually talk to people, and they're kind of afraid to communicate the message from a philosophical, ethical perspective, and they feel more comfortable putting Gary Johnson out front. As long as Gary Johnson is on the main stage in American politics as he is right now with an L next to his name, I want him to do well. I want him to wave that banner and that brand and smear it on as many brains as he possibly can so that some of them will say, hey, what's a libertarian? Let's really find out. And they're going to find out it's not Gary Johnson, and they're going to be setting us up for success in the future. I think we could have done better than Gary Johnson. I was endorsing and supporting John McAfee pretty hard, and I was very disappointed with the outcome of that. Austin Peterson, also not quite a libertarian, more of a paleo-conservative, but very close, very principled. I think that he would have been a much better option, speaking from his philosophical perspective. I would have been happy to actively support him in the general election. Darryl Perry would have been a much better option philosophically than
he's a cool guy.
Candidates. But really, the only correct position in running for president, the only ethical position is to say, as I am completely unfit to be president, and so is everybody else. And I am running for not president. The only thing I will do as president is initiate the process to dissolve the entire federal government, to abolish it immediately and declare it of no authority whatsoever. That's how we move forward from this. That's the only ethical position to take when running for president. So, yeah, in a way you could say I'm doing the lesser evil thing, but it's not because Gary Johnson is the lesser evil. I disagree with him on a lot of issues, but I do believe from my experience with him personally in New Mexico when I was running for office, and before that when I was living in New Mexico when he was governor, from his record as governor, that he is a man of integrity. He is someone that you can at least trust to be consistent in who he is and his mindset, and that if he were to win, he's not going to be someone who's going to turn around and say, never mind, I'm going to be emperor for life. No, he means what he says, and he's demonstrated the ability to live up to his word.
Well, I certainly understand the pragmatist position on this, and I don't think that he's an evil. I certainly think that Gary Johnson is a good guy. I've watched him in many interviews. He seems very sincere. I just think he's a little backwards on quite a few things and doesn't quite understand the whole point of freedom in general, though he has good intentions.
Absolutely. More than a little backwards. Completely backwards on some issues.
Well, absolutely, and the carbon tax is a great example of about as far off into left field as you can get when it comes to taxation, especially.